Welcome back, and also welcome to our final Mastering the Basics lesson on tenses. And today we're going to be looking at our final grouping of tenses, and that is future perfect tenses. So we're back looking at more perfect tenses. And of course, we'll be using some past participles, as well as that important verb been in the future perfect continuous. They are a little bit more advanced in terms of structuring and forming these tenses. But I'm sure I'll be able to explain how we use them and also how we can accurately form them in our speaking too. Okay, so we're going to begin with the future perfect tense. Here's an example. She will have seen the directions. So this is obviously an event I'm talking about, almost predicting in the future. So we use the future perfect to talk about an action in the future that happens before another action. In this example, she will have seen the directions. Now, the second later action, we don't really hear about, but maybe it was discussed in the conversation. She will have seen the directions before getting lost. So we can maybe imply or suggest the second action. But the examples we're going to look at today, I will show with two definite actions that I will sort of discuss in the examples. Okay, so quite straightforward. Subject plus will plus have plus the past participle verb 3. Here is the first example. I will have finished before the end of the day. So there we can see two actions. Finishing, this verb, whatever it is, finished an object, whatever it is, and the end of the day. I will have finished before the end of the day. So these two future actions, we're really giving a lot of information about how they happened in sequence, in order. Here's another example. She'll have spent, so the contraction, she'll have spent 6 years in a soccer by the time summer arrives. So again, these two actions up first in the future, this amount of time living, we can use spent. I'll have spent 6 years here. She'll have spent 6 years in a soccer. By the time the summer arrives, the later event. And really good to use the contractions here. In the first example, I will have finished. I probably wouldn't say that. I would contract. I'll have finished. She'll have spent. Okay, let's take a look at the negative form of the future perfect. Subject plus will not or won't. Again, won't is a lot more common to use. Plus a helping auxiliary verb have, and then plus the past participle. And here's an example. You won't have left by 4 p.m. Those two actions again. So leaving and 4 p.m. arriving. So you won't have left by 4 p.m. Here we can't make a contraction between the subject and won't, the auxiliary verb. We can't say won't, you won't, or however you might contract it. We don't do that. You won't. The contraction is already in won't, which strangely enough is a contraction of will not. You won't have left by 4 p.m. We won't have had enough time to save money by the time we plan to buy a house. So again, two different events, saving money and buying a house. Okay, so it does take a little bit more care when it comes to forming these structures. And actually, as you probably know now, the perfect tenses are a little bit more advanced in terms of where to add certain words, what types of verbs to use, what auxiliary verbs do we need? Is it have or has? Is it been? Is it the past participle for our main verb? So it does require a bit more practice, but it really isn't so advanced that we can't manage it without a bit of time. Okay, so let's take a look at the question form of the future perfect. 6 W's if you like. And then we begin with will plus our subject pronoun plus have plus past participle. And of course, please do pause the video after the examples and have a go at making your own sentences. Post them in the Q&A section for other students and myself to see and maybe give you some feedback on. So here's the first example. By tomorrow, will you have spent your money? So in blue, I'm actually giving the second event, tomorrow arriving. By tomorrow, will you have spent your money? By the time you're 40, where will you have lived? That's almost like asking someone for a prediction of where they'll be living in the future. Okay, so here is the question form of the future perfect. It's now time to move on to our final, the 12th tense structure. Congratulations. And this is the future perfect continuous. Probably one of the slightly more advanced tense forms to use, and it is the last one. I'm sure you'll be ready for it. Here's an example. She will have been seeing her mate. Mate is a very British piece of vocabulary for friend. She will have been seeing her mate. Okay, so we use the future perfect continuous to discuss an ongoing future event that continues up until another event happens. And we do this with subject plus will, and as you may think, we can contract this, plus have plus been plus verb ing, our gerund. Okay, here's an example. I will have been studying Spanish for 3 years. Now, the second event isn't really said here. It may be it was previously discussed in this conversation. I will have been studying Spanish for 3 years by this Sunday. So that's kind of giving a time frame by the time Sunday arrives. Okay, another example here. You'll have been living in London for 3 weeks by next Friday. You'll have, you will have, you'll have been living. You'll have been living. We can almost contract been, shorten been to been, which is the American piece of vocabulary there would be trash can. You'll have been living. This is getting a bit more advanced in pronunciation. You'll have been living in London for 3 weeks by next Friday. Okay, so 2 positive examples of the future perfect continuous. But how can we form this in the negative form? Well, you might be able to guess. We use won't. Will not. I'm not a fan of this. Will not. Let's use won't. It's more native sounding, and that's what we all want. So subject plus won't plus have plus been plus ing verb. I won't have been working there for ages now. She won't have been eating meat for about 5 years now. So 2 examples of a negative form here. And again, please do use won't. It just sounds better. Okay, let's see the question form of this tense. Begin with our 6 W's, or you can if you like, plus will, plus subject pronoun, plus have been, and then we add the ing verb. We can add more detail at the end, or we could also add some detail at the very start as well. Let's see an example. How long? So first up here, I've added long to my W word. How long? A very common phrase. How long? How long will you have been teaching for now? Another example. Will you have been practicing by then? So again, feel more than welcome to pause the video, have a go at creating your own future perfect continuous questions. Put it in the Q&A section of this course. It's always good to see you working and practicing the skills, language skills that we are learning. Okay, so well done. We've made it to the end of our Mastering the Basics tense lessons. But we now have a load more examples to see in our animated section of the lesson.